few years ago I became the first Australian to go into space aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger. More than anybody, I'm aware of the great contribution that Australia has made to aviation, and nowhere is this contribution more visible than here at Bankstown Airport.
Bankstown is the busiest airport in Australia. Every year, more than 400,000 aircraft take off and land here. It's home to more than 500 aircraft, ranging from basic trainers to executive jets. In addition, Australia's largest aerospace manufacturer, Hawker de Havilland, is based here with more than 50 years' experience of building aircraft.
Practical instruction begins on the tarmac and is more or less the same at any flying school.
Since it opened as an aerodrome at the beginning of World War II, thousands of men and women have learned to fly at Bankstown.
So it's fitting that Bankstown, the geographical centre of Australia's largest city, should be the site of a new aviation museum.
The museum collection will include examples of all the aircraft manufactured or assembled at Bankstown. The Mosquito, the Vampire, the de Havilland Drover, and the Tiger Moth. The museum will be built on the southwest corner of the airfield at the junction of Milperra Road and Henry Lawson Drive. Stage 1 will include an Aviation Hall of Fame, an auditorium and a theatrette. There'll also be a restoration area where the public can view work being carried out on aircraft and the framework of Charles Kingsford Smith's original hangar. Bankstown was considered as a site for an aerodrome as long ago as 1929, but nothing happened until 1940 when the RAAF established a base here. During the war, a number of fighter squadrons were based here, flying Kitty Hawks and Spitfires. During the war, Hawker de Havilland built more than 200 Mosquitoes here, making Australia the only country outside the UK to build the famous Wooden Wonder. It was at Bankstown too that the RAAF's first jet aircraft was built, the Vampire. 190 Vampires were produced, many of them flown by the famous test pilot Brian Walker. Today, Hawker de Havilland still plays a vital role in aircraft manufacture. Since it began operations in 1927, it's built nearly 4,000 aircraft. This is one of the most sophisticated aviation facilities in Australia. HDH supplies components to many famous aircraft manufacturers and is currently producing elevators for the Boeing 777 jetliner, wing flaps for the Lockheed C-130J Hercules, and other components for the Airbus series of airliners, the A310, 320 and 340.
You know, that's a good question, what does Australia look like? Because when you look at the Earth from space, the first thing you realise is it's not like when you look at the atlas at school. You can't tell where the borders of the countries are.
The Bankstown Aviation Museum will play an important educational role and school visits will be encouraged. These students from Bankstown High School attend classes on the edge of the airfield. Who knows how many of them will take up a career in flying. The Lockheed Constellation, owned by the Historical Aircraft Restoration Group, will be a frequent visitor to Bankstown and will be on show at the museum when it arrives. Bankstown is home to a number of flyable classic aircraft, including the Lockheed 10, owned by Mr. Laurie Ogle, the Wirraway, Australian-designed advanced trainer flown by Jack Curtis, and the Cessna Dragonfly of Mr. David Lowy. Winry Aviation are experts in warbird restoration, and some of their aircraft will also form part of the collection, either in static or flying condition. This will be a living museum. In addition to the permanent exhibition, visiting aircraft will be displayed in open hangars. The Bankstown Aviation Museum is now seeking both government and corporate sponsorship. Already fully endorsed by the Bankstown City Council, the museum will become a major attraction for visitors to the Sydney Olympic Games in the year 2000. And special events including a major air show are planned to bring thousands of tourists to Bankstown, a great benefit to potential sponsors. $3 million are required to see the completion of stages 1 and 2 of the museum. And all donations over $2 are, of course, tax deductible.
So with your help we can make Bankstown a great aviation museum, and I'd be really proud if you'd think about helping us and turning this into a really worthwhile project.
The first of the federal government's controversial Work for the Dole schemes began in Sydney today. 48 young people are helping to restore historic fighter planes at Bankstown Aviation Museum.
One of the things we've insisted on is that the participants shouldn't be dumped after 6 months.
The government expects 300 welfare recipients will be working in 40 different projects by Christmas.